Hello, my name is Fabiola Escalon, and I am here with the Rio Grande Current reporting from the communities who live on the border every day. And today I am joined by Elsa Hall, a San Ignacio landowner and longtime defender of the Rio Grande. With Border Wall once again moving forward, she's helping her neighbors understand how imminent construction will reshape land, wildlife, and daily life across Webb and Zapata counties. Welcome, Elsa. How are you?
Hello, thank you for inviting me to speak with you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for agreeing. I was very interested in finding out what you know. I think you know a whole lot more than I do. I love San Ignacio. I love Zapata. I went to school there. And we are visiting often now that we have more time. And I was taken aback by this. I guess I wasn't paying too much attention about this new thing going on. It came out on the New York Times. I want you to tell the audience, how did you first learn about the proposed border wall that would cut directly through your property in San Ignacio, and what does that mean for your wildlife sanctuary and your family's land? Give us a little background.
Okay, yeah. I was part of this when it first ramped up in our area back in 2019. So I've been kind of involved in resistance to this wall for the past 7 years. But yes, I have a home, a small piece of property, just a few acres, and I have my home is here where I raised my family, my two daughters, a bunch of cats and dogs. But I've also created a wildlife sanctuary here. I see wildlife all the time. Recently, one of the trail cams caught a mama bobcat with two little kittens. There's all kinds of wildlife and birds and everything. And well, here recently, I believe it was last month in October, Customs and Border Protection released what they are calling their smart wall map on their website. And looking at this map, it illustrates their plan not only for a wall, and I'm going to be speaking specifically in our area, uh, not only a wall along all of Webb County, all of Zapata County, but they also want to put these buoys in the river in addition to the wall. And so that's how I learned about it, was when they released that information on their website. And this wall is going to slice through a big part of my property here. Um, and it looks like it's going to be right next to my home. Even if it spares my home, I'm going to be right up against a wall. And of course, it's not just a wall. There's an 150-foot enforcement zone, on either side, bright lights, cameras, the whole, the whole
Mm.
thing. It's not just a line. It's not just a fence or a wall. All this other stuff comes with it. And it leaves a very large footprint on the land. So this will, yeah, disrupt my peace, my home, my property. The wildlife sanctuary will, just in
Mhm.
essence be destroyed because
Right.
of this wall. And I have to say one thing about this wall. This is unprecedented what the government is proposing. This wall will essentially divide an entire continent. This has never been done before. Great Wall of China, Berlin Wall, no wall in human history has ever divided a continent. And there are so many repercussions that we don't even know that will happen. And it's just insane to imagine all this for political theater. It's not going to stop people. It will stop the wildlife. It will destroy the land and the river and people's homes and communities and culture. But it's not going to stop people from crossing.
Absolutely. Okay, well, 2 points. Going back to the beginning, your sanctuary, all the wildlife, and recently there was the bear, and you put that on your flyer.
Yes, yeah, that was actually up the road from me, and it was in front of that La Perla, the farmland there, where the wall, the state wall is. and the bear was crossing the highway, going towards the wall. And I remember, we were all thinking, well, at least the wall isn't contiguous. Hopefully, the bear will make it to the river.
Right.
Because otherwise, this wall will cut wildlife off from their source of water, and
Right.
and even hunters, even the deer are going to be affected. Cattle ranchers, people that uh, use the river to water their cattle. That's going to go away. I mean,
Right.
there's so many repercussions that are going to happen.
Going back to your beginning statement, do you know for a fact that a wall, a physical, the fence, the wall, is that going to be built? Or have you spoken to CVP about it? Is that actually the case? They want a physical structure all along contiguous. Is that
If
what they
you
want? Is that what you understand?
Yes, yes, and we have communicated with the Border Patrol on this. Mr. Enriquez is the person with Border Patrol that's over the wall construction in our area, and if you look at their website, the description that
I have.
accompanies this map, it says, primary and secondary steel bollard wall. Those are the big steel, columns. And so it's going to have the physical wall. It's going to have the buoys in the river, the patrol roads, the lights, the cameras. Yes, this is their plan. Physical structures on the ground. They're calling it a smart wall, and that kind of is a bit misleading because people are thinking, oh, well, it's just going to be technology, cameras or sensors. No, their physical structures are definitely being planned.
I have been spoken to a couple of people, and they say the contrary to that. They're saying that, oh, it's not possible that that's the case. They can't possibly build a wall with a structure everywhere. That's not going to happen. What would you say to people who don't believe that that is what's the plan? I mean,
I
because the plan, I've seen the plan. I went online, I saw it,
Okay.
and everything is contiguous. And
Yeah.
some of it says already the construction, it's under construction. Some of it says completed. Some of it says planned.
Yes.
So,
And,
what about the floodplains? What about the floodplains? So, did they already do the study? Because they can't put it on the floodplains. And there's all these condenas where there are floods. Where are they
yes.
going to put it?
Yeah. And I would tell those people, talk to the folks in Starr County and, in the Rio Grande Valley. There is wall. Wall is all over the place down there. And you think, well, they can't put it here. That it's a floodplain or there's an arroyo. You know,
Mm-hmm.
talk to people out west in Arizona. They're blowing up mountains to build a wall. They're using gravel they're making from the mountains for the roads and the base of the wall. So it may look like it's maybe an inhospitable or it's an area where they wouldn't be able to put physical structures. But if they can blow up mountains to put up a 30-foot wall in Arizona, there's nothing to prevent them from doing it here. We don't have mountains, but there may be other landscape issues. But, you know, and it's not just the wall, it's the buoys too. The
Mm-hmm.
buoys are going to be in the river. What about floods? I mean, they're not considering, see, that is part of the things they're not considering, you know,
Right.
and and they cannot build this wall legally. So that's why they've waived all these laws, dozens and dozens of laws,
Right.
that are put here to protect the people, to protect the environment. They can't build this wall legally, so they're waiving all those laws.
The
And
environmental laws and countless other laws that they're waiving just to expedite the construction of this
yes, yes.
wall.
So,
All
so
right.
I would tell people, do not be complacent. Do not assume anything because they are very serious about this and they are
Right.
planning to award these contracts for Webb County and Laredo by the end of next month. And for Zapata County, the rest of Webb and Zapata County, the beginning of next year, they're awarding the construction contracts.
Oh
After
my
that
goodness.
comes the waivers of law. And then the third step is to approach the landowners and pressure them to sign right of entries, uh, saying, oh, we're just going to do a survey. We're just going to look. But if they sign a right of entry for them to do the surveys, that's just the first step in the condemnation process. It gives them an way in. And then the second step is much easier, where they actually take the property, condemn the property. So um,
So you're saying don't sign
this
anything.
exactly. Don't sign anything until you talk to a lawyer.
All right. So you previously joined a lawsuit if challenging the wall. How does this second wave of construction feel different politically and personally?
Well, the first go round, the plans that they released did not come all the way up to my property. Um, and the second thing that's different is that they seem to be moving much faster now,
Mhm.
and they're waiving even the procurement, the laws about the contracts. In addition to the environmental protections, they're waiving all the uh, contractual laws, the procurement laws, to make it easier to award the bids, to their
Right.
donor buddies, and again help it move faster. So it does feel different in those respects.
Wow. Are you collaborating with the Rio Grande International Studies Center in Laredo, led by Tricia Cortez, or are you collaborating with any other environmental groups that are pushing back against the wall?
Well, yes, we have many allies all along the border, from California all the way to Boca Chica. But here in our area, yes, we were working very closely with Tricia Cortez and Risk. And we have been since 2019. And Risk was also one of the plaintiffs in our lawsuit last time. So,
Hmm.
yes, we work very closely with
Okay.
Risk.
Okay, wonderful. I know they're doing a lot of good work. And that's
Yes.
how I first found out about the wall being built, I guess, close to your property, one of your neighbors, perhaps. Local leaders, they are very divided on whether to resist or negotiate the wall design changes. I recently read what was mentioned by the mayor of Laredo, that the wall is coming, might as well negotiate, might as well play. Do you believe compromise is pragmatic, or do you think it's a dangerous given?
Yeah, that's a very slippery slope, and we did address that in city council several times. Um, and we did convince the mayor and city council to don't just go into these negotiations without, you know, arming yourself, with facts and knowledge and what you really will stand to lose, and the value of what you stand to lose. The mayor was just ready to roll over without having any information. And so we have to tell people this is not a done deal. And you can't fight against something unless you get the knowledge. So they have agreed, and they are going to hire the legal experts, the environmental experts, to come in and look at, see what they have, what will be impacted, and how much it's worth, because that's one thing the federal government has been notorious for in these border wall negotiations. They lowball you. They're not going to give
Mhm.
you the value of your property, and so you want to make sure you've got all that information to back up what you're when you have to go into these negotiations, that you are able to do that from a strong
Mhm.
standpoint, and have that knowledge to be able to actually conduct
Yep.
negotiations.
Yeah,
Now,
because
the leaders in Zapata County, completely different than City of Laredo. We also spoke at Commissioner's Court, and before we could even finish our presentation, one of the commissioners, well, why are they wanting to build a wall when crossings are so low? And I was like, exactly. That
bingo.
was part of my presentation, how crossings have just plummeted, everywhere. And in our sector, Laredo, and which includes Zapata County, our sector has always had low numbers compared to other sectors. But now, especially now, numbers so low, they're able to achieve this without a wall. So it's obvious we don't need a wall. It's all part of the political theater and the
Right.
disinformation that the government is spreading about an invasion. Um, People in the rest of the country and other parts of the country are buying into this. I have lived here for 25 years, raised my two daughters. I also conduct river monitoring along a almost 300-mile stretch of this river. I swim, I kayak, we've camped along this river. I have never felt any fear of my safety or my family's safety from anyone or anything on the other side of the river crossing over. That
Hmm.
is, it's just a false narrative. There is no invasion. The
Right.
invasion is actually coming internally from all the military, the law enforcement, all this stuff, descending upon us needlessly. So
Hmm.
it's just
I
a
think
false
it
narrative.
I think you're right about the narrative of, so many people coming in. There was a point where there was a lot of people coming in. But it was handled, and you see that because people are not coming in, right? It was handled politically, or there. I mean, it's been handled. If we're not seeing people coming in, um, you know, so then yes, there's no need for the wall. But there is a second element to why some people might want more protection or why might they feel scared. There are cartels right across, and there's a lot of cartel activity across. You have never experienced any fear or any people wondering about.
No, and see, that's one thing about this wall. It will make it more difficult for the common people to cross between the bridges, between the ports of entry. It'll make it more difficult for, the mothers and the children, the families. So guess what? Guess who's going to benefit from that? The cartels. These people are now going to have to go through the cartels and pay money and put themselves and their families at higher risk dealing with cartels to get them across the border if there's this wall and these physical barriers. Because like I said, people aren't going to stop trying,
Right.
and they're going to use whatever means available to them. And if that means, well, the cartels can get us across, if we're just going to have to pay and risk it, it's going to be giving money to the cartels. I mean,
Right.
it's just ridiculous any way you look at this wall.
Yes. Okay, well, the administration plans roughly 108 miles of wall through Webb and Zapata counties, slicing through parks, nature trails, even a water treatment plant, I was told. What environmental and cultural damage is at stake here?
Yes, I mean, like I said, it's not just a narrow wall, a narrow fence. It's this wide swath, 150-foot enforcement zone on either side. Separating communities that have, shared the culture, between the U.S. and Mexico, both sides of the border. This culture we share. So that community, that sense of community, will definitely be impacted. In addition to, like San Ignacio, um, it's a historic town, historic buildings, and constructed like 1850s, somewhere around there. And the last street, Trevino Street in San Ignacio, it lies in the path of this wall. So either it's the wall or the enforcement zone, the roads, you know, it, it's affecting people's homes, my home too. So homeowners are going to be displaced. And like we've talked about the wildlife, separating these wildlife populations, it will decrease their genetic diversity, their ability to mate, find a mate. So species will decline. And also with the lights, they plan on lighting up this wall. Most bird migration occurs at night. So that is going to negatively affect the bird migrations as well. And, and the buoys in the river, this is a whole different story now. We've seen what's happened in Eagle Pass. I've seen this firsthand. I've been there several times. These buoys trap sediment and other debris that's coming down the river. And right now, what has happened in Eagle Pass, and this is a relatively short section, is that it's creating these islands along the
Mm.
buoys. And the water is being pushed across to the Mexico side.
They're changing
And
the course of the river
yes, it's
considerably.
changing the course of the river, pushing all this water to the Mexican side. And that, all the complaining people do about, Mexico's not living up to their water deliveries, as the 1944 treaty. They're not living up to their water deliveries. And here we're just going to shove a bunch of water over to them. And so along our side, what I've seen with Eagle Pass, it's shallow, it's silted in. So you got to think about how that affects our water treatment plants, the pumps, the intakes on the river. Number one, it's going to be more silted in.
Mm.
So assuming the pumps can even reach the water, it could suck in the sediment, damage the pumps, make water treatment more difficult. But, also, are these pumps even going to be able to get to the water if these islands are created over here on our side and all the water's being pushed the other way, changing the course of the river? I mean, that's definitely going to be impacted too. People aren't even considering that.
And people down here in the valley would get even less water.
Yes, yes, we all will get less water.
All of us, everybody. Well, so it was about 46 or something close to $50 billion that were being put into the wall. It was passed in last July, this past summer. Wouldn't that money be better spent trying to save the Rio Grande River, being that it's highly polluted?
Yes, and the Rio Grande is one of the 10 most endangered rivers and is the sole source of drinking water for over 6 million people. And with the drought conditions, it's under such great threat. So yes, that money could um, be used like the binational river park that they were proposing in Laredo, stuff like that. But also even more than that, it averages $25 million per mile of this wall, and they want to build, oh my God, hundreds and hundreds, thousand miles of wall. If they could invest that 25 million per mile into our communities, our area here is medically underserved. We can't get the doctors to come here, so everybody has to go out to San Antonio, other places to get medical treatment.
Right.
And so, how are we going to even be able to attract people to our area if it's all militarized and we have this ugly wall? We can't even look out at our beautiful river or even access it. But so yes, that money could be invested in our communities, our schools, our the hospitals, things like that, instead of this useless, destructive, deadly wall invested in our community.
Absolutely. So finally, what message do you want Washington to get from South Texans? What message do you want Washington and South Texans to hear from San Ignacio right at this point?
Well, I would invite people to come down and take a look for themselves. And I would like to ask those in power in DC to stop spreading the disinformation. Like I said earlier, there's no invasion. We don't need a wall. We don't want a wall. So stop spreading the lies. Look at the beauty in our river and our border. The border is beautiful. The people are beautiful. Our environment is beautiful. We need to invest in that and come together as a community. And instead of, constructing this racist monument, um, just stop spreading all this disinformation. Come see the border for yourself.
At the meeting? Oh, do you want to give information about the meeting or your town hall on Monday?
Yes, yes. We're holding a town hall meeting here in San Ignacio Monday evening, 6:30 p.m. at the community center, and it's just an informative meeting to Because, like you said earlier, so many people are unaware. Even somebody, I would say my neighbor, I'm the only one who lives out here, but they have property next to me. People weren't even aware this was happening or planned. And so we want to have this information, give this information to the community to let them know this is what they're planning and this is what you can do to resist that. And this first meeting is just informational. We do plan on having a second meeting where we get the legal experts to come in and discuss the options people have. So basically, right now, yeah, come to the meeting to get some information about this.
Excellent. And also one last thing. I mean, we could be here talking for hours, but one last thing is most people don't think how they will be indirectly affected. Some will be directly affected, and other people are thinking, well, I don't have property on the river. This is not going to affect me. What would you say to them?
Yes, you are going to be affected, even if you're not right on the river. Like so many of these communities get their drinking water from this river, but also think about the impact to the environment, the wildlife, hunters, like I said, and that all of that, this is going to have so many ramifications that we don't even know yet. But, you think about, the bird migration, the birds and the wildlife being affected, and these populations declining, these species declining. It's going to have ripple effects throughout the entire continent, not just here on the river, on the border. So you
And
have to keep that in mind.
yes, I think I would love to see the lake filled to capacity again.
Yeah, well, that
But
would be wonderful.
that would be wonderful.
But how
So
is that going to happen with a bunch of buoys in the river?
right. And the water quality in Zapata, everybody complains to the water quality. I don't know that it's going to get any better with all this construction and the buoys and
It will
whatnot.
only get worse. Yes.
So that right there to me is a direct impact to the people in the county. And
Yeah.
then just at a local level. But then, like you
Mhm.
said, there's going to be things that are going to come up that we don't know what could go wrong or what can happen because
Yeah. Yeah. This is an unprecedented experiment they're conducting, with our ecosystem and our lives. I mean, it's
truly, truly an experiment since they're waiving all these environmental laws and a bunch of procurement laws and all kinds of laws just
yeah.
to put a structure there. All righty. Well, thank you again and again and
Thank
again. I
you.
hope to meet you in person, and this has been a wonderful interview. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.